The appetite goes first, not dramatically. You just look at food, and something in your body says, no, then sleep, or what used to be sleep. Not insomnia exactly. You can lie still. Your eyes just stay open, and then you start measuring time in increasingly stupid units. 4 minutes since the message, 11 since you checked, 23 since you decided you were not going to check again. Then the brain starts doing the thing, trying the conversation again with slightly different words, like some part of it still thinks it can change the outcome. And after a while, the day stops feeling like a day at all. It becomes checkpoints, tiny audits of whether anything changed since the last time you checked. And here's what nobody talks about. Every one of those symptoms, the appetite, the sleep, the brain running reruns at 3 a.m., they are metabolically expensive. Running that level of internal disruption costs real calories, real cognitive function. In a world where survival margins were measured in hours, a system this costly should have been removed from us 100,000 years ago. It should have gotten our ancestors killed. It didn't, which means it was doing something else entirely. For 300,000 years, essentially all of human history before the last 10,000, this was your entire world. Not your city, not your country, not your extended family. 30 people. These 30 people were your hunting partners, your food supply, your child's health care, your early warning system for predators, and every other person on Earth you were ever going to meet. Every single one. There was, as far as we can tell, no concept of privacy in this world. Only things that had not been mentioned yet. In this world, attachment was not a lifestyle choice. It was structural. If your partner hunted, you ate. If your alliance held, your children survived. This is where it starts. Cal doesn't have a word for what is happening to him. What he has is a body that is starting to do inconvenient things. He misses the deer. 30 people get a little less food that evening. The elder notices. He doesn't say anything. And here is the part modern heartbreak doesn't have. Every single morning. He couldn't block her, he couldn't move away, he couldn't avoid seeing her, because seeing her was the same thing as the fire and the food and the people who kept him alive. In modern terms, an extremely close working relationship with the person who just broke his heart, with no HR department and no resignation option. In 2005, neuroscientist Helen Fisher put people who had recently fallen in love inside a brain scanner. She found that early-stage romantic attachment activates some of the same deep reward pathways as cocaine, which means romantic loss may work, in part, like withdrawal, not sadness as a metaphor, withdrawal as a process. And there is something else happening at the same time. Across dozens of cultures, from hunter-gatherer bands in Namibia to contemporary societies in Europe and Japan, marriage dissolution rates peak at a remarkably consistent interval. 4 years. The 4-year bond. Long enough to wean a child. Not 1 day longer than necessary. Human babies are the most helpless offspring in the animal kingdom. A newborn needs roughly 4 years of intensive care before a mother can manage without the specific support of one dedicated partner. Evolution may have stumbled into a chemical pair bond, dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin, tuned roughly to last that long. After 4 years, the intoxication was likely built to fade. Ren is not a villain in this story. He is just available. At the right moment, which in a world of 30 people was always going to happen. Social exclusion in a band of 30 people does not announce itself. It begins with food. For most of human history, being unwanted wasn't painful because humans were dramatic. It was painful because isolation was fatal. Let's be exact about what exile actually meant. No single human alone survived more than a few days on the Paleolithic landscape. Not because they were weak, because the entire survival system was built for groups and had never been tested for individuals. No coordination for hunting, no one to watch the fire while you sleep, no one to watch for predators, no one to treat illness, no one to watch your back. Something inside the tribe that starts coming apart, as Cal is discovering, has a direction it's heading. And the body knows it, which is where the brain imaging matters. In 2011, Naomi Eisenberger and Matthew Lieberman at UCLA imaged the brains of recently rejected people. They found that social rejection activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the same region, the same signal as a physical injury. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a broken bone and a broken relationship. This was not a flaw. When Cal starts to drift, when the chemical intoxication fades and the eyes start moving, the pain signal fires. And the drift becomes too expensive. The tribe holds together for one more winter. The children survive. When pair bonds break badly inside a group of 30, the practical consequences are immediate. And most people eventually went back to the fire. Not because the pain went away, not because anything was really resolved. Because outside the fire there was nothing, and something in the body still knew which direction the fire was. You are lying in bed, 3 in the morning. The phone screen is the only light. Your rational mind knows you will not starve tomorrow because of this. You know there is no predator outside the building. You know in some clear part of you that you will be fine. But parts of your threat system still respond like the world is much older than it is. To that part of your brain, the unreturned message, the empty side of the bed, the final conversation, it is running the same alarm sequence Cal was running at the edge of that fire. The sequence that says, something inside the group is coming apart. The darkness is getting closer. You are not overreacting. Your brain is running a signal that kept your species alive. The pain is proportionate. For 300,000 years, the thing it was signaling about was genuinely, existentially, fatally serious. The parts of your brain running this are not wrong about the scale of what connection means. They are just working from very old information about the consequences of losing it. The archaeologists sometimes find the ancient graves. Not always weapons, not always tools, sometimes pairs, buried together, facing each other, hands touching, covered in flowers. The heartbreak did not break them apart. It was, at least partly, one of the things that kept them returning to each other. Over and over. For 30 years. For 50. Until they were buried holding hands. And someone had to lower the second body into the ground after the first one was already there. That is what it meant. And most people eventually came back to the fire. The appetite going, the sleep breaking, the 3 a.m. arithmetic. That is 300,000 years of the same signal. And here you are. Leave a comment. What's harder to sit with? Knowing the pain was built for a reason, or knowing it actually worked? Next episode is already there.